Hi, welcome to the very first episode of the Lost Films of the 90s podcast. Uh, my name is Kenny,
And I'm Rick.
and we're going to be taking you through the years of the 90s and all the films that were made then that no one remembers now. Because you got movies like Jurassic Park, Saving Private Ryan, Pulp Fiction, all the classics, but does anyone remember all the really small movies that lasted in the theaters for about maybe 2 weeks?
I was just going to say that's a perfect transition into what movie we're going to talk about in the first episode, I think.
Yeah, and we're real excited to talk about this movie because, man, when we were kids, this was the biggest movie of that year. At least for me, it was. Of course, we're talking about Small Soldiers, released in the summer of 1998. It was just full of merchandise. Just like
Yeah, I think that's all it was, though. I don't think it was even. I think the movie was literally intended to be
yeah, I
like
mean,
a marketing scheme somehow.
but a movie like Toy Story is kind of like, well, if this does well, we can sell toys. But it's like Small Soldiers was like, hey, we need to make a movie with a bunch of cool toys. That way people
and
will
that's
buy the toys.
and that's what's funny. But I don't know if it's too early in our show to talk about it. But I have to make note. I feel like Small Soldiers, after rewatching it, because it's obviously we both sat and had to kind of stomach some of it. A lot of it was fun, but anyways, I felt like it was almost satirically made.
Yeah.
Like I felt like I couldn't tell if it was like the worst serious movie ever or the best like, really bad movie ever. It's kind of like Scream. Like I can't tell if it's like really a horror movie or not.
Yeah. Well, Scream is definitely like poking fun at a lot of that stuff. This, it's
But
like, I'm not
but
sure
you'll
if it
find people
is.
who people will believe that Scream is some type of horror film. There are people who are like, no, man.
Oh, yeah, when I
Remember
was
the
a
girl
kid,
gets.
definitely. It was like the scariest movie. I remember my dad actually bought the Scream mask and late at night came into my room when I was watching TV with the mask on. I like nearly crap my pants.
That's horrifying. Why would your dad do that to you?
Um,
That's
you have
that's
to
what my
ask
dad
him
would
that. So, let's just start with, I guess, do you want to start with what we thought of the movie back then, or what we thought of it this time watching it?
do. Okay, so I actually had an idea for this. I say we can assess the film as adults with clarity, and then we can put our 90s hats on, and we can assess, with our little whirly twirly things as 9-year-olds
The
all again.
pinwheel hats.
Pinwheel hat.
Oh my god.
Sorry, dude, my twirly whirly. I don't know. It's up to you, man. Whatever you feel. I already kind of expressed how I felt about it. Now,
So,
so might as well.
I guess I'll just start like as my memories of watching this movie as a kid was this was like the better version of Toy Story because I was so into action as a kid. I loved Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. I was just getting to like Terminator, and plus, what this is 98, so it would have been around the same time I saw Saving Private Ryan in the theater with my dad.
What?
Yeah, I was like, what, 7 years old? My dad told my mom we're gonna go see Madeline,
Okay,
and
there's a pattern here.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Your dad put screen masks on you, and then what made you watch Being Saving Private Ryan?
Yeah, that's how I've come to be who I am. But yeah, definitely like seeing this movie, I was just blown away. I remember so vividly being in school, like actually reenacting the little like climax fight scene between Chip and Archer on the power lines. Of course, I was Chip. It was always like, I'm gonna be the one that's calling everybody scum. I'm not even sure if I knew that it was Tommy Lee Jones as Chip, but Tommy Lee Jones was like one of my favorite actors at that time. He played Two-Face in Batman Forever, which was my favorite Batman movie at that time, and he was in Men in Black, like the summer before this.
And that's one movie I did see in the theater. Small Soldiers. My uncle took us to see. Now I was in '98. That puts me at 8 years old. It's the summer of so I just turned 8. And my little cousin was 5 years younger, so he was like 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was August he turned 4. So I don't remember seeing it in theaters, but I remember everything at my uncle's house. Every last freaking thing was Small Soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, naturally, my little cousin pronounced, I think I told you this before, Saul Soldiers. So that's always been the running joke in my house. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, Saul Soldiers.
Small soldiers.
It's dumb, but yeah, that's pretty much my. I remember I had a PlayStation 1 game,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and it's like, and it's interestingly enough, there's walkthroughs online. Like people take it serious, and they go on. They're really, really. I think there's cheat codes and everything else you can find too. But
No, yeah,
yeah.
they're definitely there's a. I remember I actually had a jam pack of PS1 games. Probably it was around that time of the year. I think it might have had like Tomb Raider 3 and like Medieval and some other games, but Small Soldiers was on there, and I think you could only play multiplayer. But I remember like I just this week was researching and found walkthroughs, and it was like the opening menu with like the little cutout boxes with like all the little
Yeah, dude.
Gorgonites in it, and then it was like one player, two player, passwords, and it was like, oh my god, it's such nostalgia. Just
I
even
know,
even like
dude.
the soundtrack to it, and then getting like just watching them play through it, and man, I used to spend so much time just running through. I didn't even know what the power up things were that I grabbed. I was just shooting at everything, but yeah,
Is it weird?
going through watching all these videos, they had videos of people nowadays like looking at their old actual action figures and or not life size, but like movie size toys of Chip and Archer and Ocula and Slam Fist. And then there were also a video for the board game, because of course Small Soldiers had a board game that was
Oh,
like
why not?
it was like battle tactics in like hexagonal form with actual like pieces that looked like the characters, and all of the commandos were like tan or kind of like flesh toned all the way around, like no clothes coloring, and the same thing for the Gorgonites, but they're purple, and the board is like a hexagonal kind of like checkerboard,
Okay.
and the background they have like a little pop up of the store that the kid owns,
Okay.
and I think there might have been a picture of him like in the window of the store, like watching them fight.
I I'm gonna look this up real quick while you're because
Yeah, go for it.
it's ringing bells, but it's like I feel like for some reason the video game and the toys give me more nostalgia of like that era than
Hmm.
almost the movie does. Because
Yeah.
it's the same thing. It's like you remember Disneyland is this vivid, huge thing, and you go back and like, oh well, it's just wooden walls. Like it's
Uh-huh.
the same idea, kind of.
Well, while you're looking that up, I'll just talk more about all the other videos I found, because I honestly was worried that doing this movie first was going to harbor problems because there wasn't going to be much info on the internet. Because, I mean, unless a movie made like over $100 million in the 90s and was, warranting a sequel, it probably doesn't have a lot of info online. But you go on YouTube and you type in Small Soldiers, you'll find a treasure cove of just videos, like little short teaser commercials from like Burger King, because
Oh yeah.
they used to around this time they had a lot of promotion for it, like the little bags that your nuggets and your fries came in had the Ocula eye, but for some reason it was green. I was like, is this Monsters Inc. or is this Small Soldiers? This doesn't make any
Mike
sense.
Wazowski.
And then there's a video of Chip Hazard on trial with real people. It's just the toy, but a bunch of real people in there saying that he was slacking off on the job, dreaming about eating a rodeo burger at Burger King because rodeo burger was the new hot thing.
I don't know how I feel about that.
And I actually was reading some pretty funny um,
I,
trivia. I have to find it.
I
I'm
have
sorry.
I have a problem with that rodeo. He's plastic. I mean, who in a suit at the top of Burger King said, "Let's put Chip Hazard"? I mean, they could have found anything else to say. Like, okay, I'm over it. Sorry, it just kind of didn't
No,
make sense.
no, it is really dumb. But there actually was. I read something. Oh, here it was. Burger King. Yeah, Burger King had agreed to market the film with its kids' meals before they knew it was rated PG-13.
Oh,
Because the studios actually wanted to make this film more kid friendly, with like less, body parts of the commandos flying everywhere,
and
and
we're gonna talk about
a
that.
lot less children endangerment. But so yeah, so the Burger King had no idea it was going to be PG-13, so they went ahead, jumped feet first into this, and then that kind of sprang back on them. And then there was also apparently the same year that the film was released, an Oregon teen named Kip Kinkle killed his parents and then went on to do a shooting rampage at his high school, where he killed two students and wounded 25. And his name, Kip Kinkle, is very similar to a commando in the movie named Kip Killigan.
Oh, come on, dude.
And so, because of that,
the satanic panic. We're all gonna die.
because of that, his action figure was not distributed in the state of Oregon.
Oh my god, really, dude?
Yeah,
And,
only his.
I can see how maybe there's some sensitivity, but it's there's no real likeness. It's again, somebody at the top was like, "Did you guys hear about what happened in Oregon?"
So I wrote down just some like stats on the people that made this movie. So the director of this movie is named Joe Dante. Does his name ring a bell?
For me, no, it doesn't.
Well,
Should.
I'm sure some of these movie titles will ring a bell. Gremlins,
Oh, okay.
The Burbs,
Uh,
and this other one's just like one that I thought was interesting. Explorers. This was actually the debut film of Ethan Hawke and River Phoenix. It's like a like kid sci-fi film. I always saw the cover at Blockbuster.
yeah, it looks cool.
And then so we got actually 5 writers on this movie. Believe it or not. We've got Gavin Scott, who is known for the Young Indiana Jones series and the movie The Borrowers, that smash hit. And then Adam Rifkin, who was responsible for Mouse Hunt. He wrote that, but he also directed one movie I think we should cover eventually, Detroit Rock City.
Oh yeah, dude.
And then we've got Ted Elliott, who was a writer on Aladdin, Road to El Dorado, Shrek, and the Pirates of the Caribbean series.
Okay.
And then
What?
Terry Rossio, who also did Aladdin, Shrek, and the Pirates of the Caribbean.
So what you're saying is there should have been a lot more sustenance here.
We're dealing with people, except for Mouse Hunt guy and The Borrowers, 2 writers. And then I mentioned that there's 5 people. There's one who's uncredited, Anne Spielberg, who I believe is Steven Spielberg's wife, because Steven Spielberg was an uncredited producer on the film. He must have just walked by the set and said, "Hey, why don't we make the Gorgonites this? Or why don't we give them a soft voice?" And they were like, "Oh, that's genius. Let's give him a credit."
It's gold.
So
it's actually Steven's sister.
Steven. Oh, is this Steven's sister?
Yeah, I guess it's his sister. I don't know if he just kind of like, oh, mom's making me.
Well, I actually did hear on another podcast I listened to today that on the set of Gremlins, Steven Spielberg did a very similar thing where he was on set and said, "Hey, you guys should keep Gizmo alive at the end." I'm like, "Oh, it's brilliant! Oh, yes!" And so that's what they did.
As to the alternative was what?
So we've also got the score to this film is by one Jerry Goldsmith, who, just let me tell you what he's done. Chinatown, which is one of my favorite movies. The Omen, which is a really good soundtrack. And Alien, which is another very good soundtrack. What was happening in this movie?
Maybe there wasn't too much direction mean, think about it. You have Ridley Scott say, "Okay, let me paint a picture for you," and the guys go, "Oh, okay, fantastic, we'll write a song." And you have the director. What's the director of Small Soldiers name again?
Joe Dante.
So Joe Dante said, "Let me paint you a picture." You don't really have much to work with as a composer. And the movie's rad, but it's.
I mean, I guess like yeah, if he did have early test footage with no CGI soldiers in it, then maybe he had a problem. But I mean, just coming into the beginning of this film, right away, it's cheesy. Not the film itself, the score. The score is cheesy. It has like every time they show the commandos, it's like this, just like insert military song here, and it's I actually wrote down probably more than 5 times in my notes what is up with this score.
Well, they should have shot the guitar player in the head who was playing the. There's a section when the commandos would come on a screen. It would be like a really simplified, like a drum march and the snare. And there's a guitar riff on the top.
Yeah.
It's just terrible. I don't know who they hired to do it. But you know, it's original. It's not like they sampled it from somewhere.
Original is not always good. Have you heard anything other than 1 Week by the Bare Naked Ladies? Alright, so I guess that's pretty much the preamble. Can get into the movie itself. So, to everyone listening, we are new at this. Sorry that this is going to be rough in sound and in structure. But I have not written down scene for scene the plot. So I'm just going to read off of Wikipedia because I'm American. So
I think it's. I mean, I'm not going to apologize to anybody because it's cool in the first place. I mean, it's. I'm not saying it's. I mean, sound quality is one, but two, I think we'll get better at it. It's our first one, so.
Yeah, this is kind of like. Not rushed, but just like, we're so giddy to start that it's like, wait, this isn't working. Screw it. Let's just do something else. Let's just do it. So with any further ado, here we go. So we've got the beginning of the film. Top defense contractor, Globotech Industries, acquires the Heartland Toy Company, which I guess Heartland was the big truck that comes in with the old guy.
Oh, yeah. Joe.
Yeah. Was that his name, Joe? I just wrote down old guy. I love the old guy.
He was like a staple of the plot. Come on, I keep going.
But as part of the move, Globotech CEO Gil Mars, who I believe is Dennis Leary, yep. Which, Dennis Leary was, good lord, everywhere in the 90s. I remember my dad telling me about Dennis Leary and then being like, "Oh, Dad, you gotta watch this movie." And he's like, "Oh, it's Dennis Leary. He's so funny." And he wouldn't let me know why, even though he showed me Saving Private Ryan. So yeah, Gil Mars is gonna tell the toy designers Larry and Irwin, who are played by Jay Moore and David Cross. Who, David Cross, probably one of the silent breakout comics of the 90s, who ended up having almost a bigger career in the 2000s, despite, I feel like Mr. Show, which is the show that he originated on with, what is his name? Bob Odenkirk, who most people know now as Saul from the Better Call Saul series.
Oh, that's right.
They started as like a comedy duo, doing kind of just like little Monty Python-esque sketches. It's
2018. Sketches, whatever.
But David Cross, going on to be Tobias Funke in Arrested Development, one of the greatest characters in sitcom history. And then Jay Moore, who hosted Last Comic Standing.
And then...
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'm not going to say I've never been in a movie, but still, it's like...
So you remember at the beginning of this part of the movie, they actually are showing, I think, like a commercial for this Globotech Industries, and they're talking about how they're like a civil defense company that makes nuclear warheads, and just after they show a nuclear warhead flying through the air, there's a shot of a family having a picnic on the ground. Yeah, just what the nuclear family needs: actual nukes. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, they've been tasked with developing actual live action toys that are capable of playing back. You know, they kind of just show Dennis Leary little snippet, like the little like commercials you would see on TV of like the toy busting out of the box and then picking up his gun and like holding it out, and Dennis Leary is just so enamored by that. Oh my god, I've never seen that, but can he actually do that? No,
And
he
does he
can't do that.
actually do that?
And you know, Dennis Leary goes on one of his many rants that he's gone on in the '90s, talking about. I hate every commercial I see where a Jeep drives up to the top of a mountain, and you know, you wash your hair with this, and you'll look like Claudia Schiffer. Which I mean, who? Claudia Schiffer? This must be a '90s movie. um, so let's see. The Gorgonites and the Commandos are shown. Gorgonites are kind of, limp noodle, shown by David Cross. He pulls out the cardboard cutouts and they're falling over, and he's a hot mess.
Well,
And
they help kids learn.
well, how are you, sir? I'm late.
It's terrible. You know, I don't know about you. Some people are really fans of Dennis Leary, dude. He's cool, but just that whole scene I was watching, like, man, I've met a lot of CEOs in my day.
Mm-hmm.
I've never met a CEO like this guy. Like, I'm late.
No, yeah,
Fantastic.
it's pretty bad. Dennis Leary, I kind of like, I don't know. I watched Rescue Me on. I kind of binged that on Netflix when I first got Netflix around 2010.
Don't be mad at me. I never watched it.
It's not great. It's just like something to do. Mostly just like the same thing over and over. You know, he's addicted to alcohol. He's not addicted to alcohol. He's yeah.
The Duke's Hazard.
Yeah, this is not this is not that podcast. But so we have before that there's a scene of Jay Moore and David Cross walking in the hall talking about how they're about to do this performance or this presentation, and it's one of the most inexplicable scenes of Jay Moore acting like he's never seen a woman before, because this woman walks up and immediately Jay Moore has the wolf eyes with the tongue rolling out, and it doesn't make any sense. Like, has he literally never been laid?
Well, quite honestly, man, the actress they put in there, I'm sure if she pulled her hair out of bun and maybe took a stick out of her butt, she'd be all right. But she's really not even. She's not Claudia Schiffer, if you know what I mean.
I mean, David Cross isn't. He's not taking his eyes off of Ocula. And then I also noticed that they, within 5 minutes of this movie starting, the words "kiss ass" are used, and I had to check and was like, "Oh, this is rated PG-13."
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh no! Let me make make that clear. There's kiss ass, there's bastard, there's ass, just straight ass. What else was there?
Eventually we will hear the word bitch.
Oh, I didn't hear bitch.
Oh, we'll get to that. I wrote it down. It was quite hilarious, actually.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, we'll just go on. So because they have such a tight deadline to get these toys out on the market in 3 months, Larry J. Moore has to he goes and gets these microprocessor chips, which
But you have to explain how he gets the microprocessor chips. You see, they're issued because the Globotech, or what's the name of the company?
yeah, Globotech.
Globotech acquires this toy company, and these two toy designers that we're talking about, obviously, they're assigned passwords
Oh
to
my
be able
God,
to
yeah.
access the database, and so Jay Moore's character accesses the database, and he goes in and he says to the system, because obviously with every munition tech firm or tech company, you can just go in and start typing chips, really good chips. Oh wait, I actually wrote it down. This is oh god, this is just ridiculous, dude. Where's it at? Oh, good chips, like really good chips, and a lot of chips, and presto, the system actually goes, here you go, here's the X1000 chip.
Yeah.
Now this is a military grade, it's
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous. Well, I'll let you take.
Yeah, it's is this the part where he has the scene with, or no, that's never mind. That's later on. I just kind of I commented on the fact that they show them making the toys after he selects the chips,
That's
and
pretty cool.
Archer looks like he's made out of honey. He looks like a honey jar.
But I like the little the 3D laser cutting they use. It looks
Yeah.
pretty neat as the toys come out of
That
it.
probably was what they actually used to make the real toys.
More than likely. Well, I don't know. Do they have 3D printers in '98?
I mean, I wouldn't say that it's impossible.
Oh, I just thought about. There's got to be an Easter egg in there because Jay Moore's password to get into the system was Gizmo.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, of course, and that's Gremlins.
Yeah,
Yep,
direct
Gizmo.
baby.
So I also noticed that this is very similar, at least this scene of them making the toys, to how they make the host in Westworld, the TV show that came out a couple of years ago. You're shaking your head, yeah, you haven't seen it, but
Well, no. I've seen it. I tried, dude. I'm a classical Western guy though.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like hip hip writer. I'm not like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know.
Well, it's a great show. There's just a lot of scenes of that show of them making the host, and this is pretty similar. Just not really like the way they make them, but the way it's shot. It's very like straight on with like the thing pouring over them. Anyway, so yeah, we meet Alan Abernathy, who is our hero of the movie. Who at first I was so excited because I haven't seen this movie in a long time. So when it came on, saw him riding his bike. I'm like, oh, I did not know John Connor was in this movie.
The kid looks nothing like Edward Furlong. Don't start.
Well, he has the same haircut. He's riding a bike. I mean, what am I
Dude.
supposed to think? This is the '90s.
Okay, that's not the haircut. John Connor had like a long, like stringy haircut. Every person in this film, except for maybe his mom, had a freaking butt cut. Every single one looked like Jonathan Taylor Thomas, and it was making me sick.
Yeah, that was very popular. The penis haircut.
Just butt cut, bro.
Yeah, you call it what you want. So
What you call it, a penis cut? I don't know.
I heard it was Blink 182 making fun of the Backstreet Boys.
Yeah, because that's such a far stretch.
I mean, listen to what I just said. That's a very '90s statement. All right, so yeah, Alan shows up at his dad's toy store. I guess his dad's getting ready to go on a trip. And when he gets there, he sees the delivery truck with Joe, and just I guess sees a bunch of boxes and is so interested by him. Just like, what's in those boxes? I don't know.
Specifically.
Let's check them out.
Yeah. The delivery driver's gonna risk his pension.
And so
just to find out.
they pull these out, and they pull out Archer and Chip Hazard, and they already, I guess they read the box and know that there are voice commands, Ten Hut and Halt Who Goes There, which I don't understand why Halt Who Goes There is Archer's command.
Because you know what, the whole film had this sense of like cowboys versus savages kind of feel.
Yeah.
So I feel like they try to maybe find the most I don't know, savage-esque type.
I feel like the fact that this was written by 5 people, somebody in this process wanted to make an allegory for race relations in America and like the way we treat people in the world, and then the other people didn't get that message and just said, no, everyone sucks.
That's a
Um,
good point, man. I didn't think about that.
so, Kristen, Kristen Stewart?
Yeah,
Kirsten Stewart.
Kirsten
I
Stewart.
always have to check because, they're always so touchy with that. So yeah, Kirsten Stewart shows up, and she's here to buy a toy for an annoying boy who won't leave her alone that started following her home.
It's her
Um,
little brother, bro.
oh, is that who it was? Oh,
Yeah, dude.
man. No, yeah, he's the most annoying child I've ever seen. I
Well,
mean,
can I make note of the fact that as soon as she walks up to the door, again, you made a comment about Jay Moore's jaw dropping like the old cartoons, howling.
uh huh.
No, no, dude. This kid starts like having a full blown panic attack as she walks up the door. He's go back and watch. It's hilarious, dude. I don't know. Like the director was like, "Okay, kid, what
Yeah,
do you think the worst thing ever?"
I guess
Use that.
I didn't get that one. I didn't notice that. I did write down some notes for the previous scene. Did you notice Archer has the worst posture of any toy I've ever? He's got the dowager's hump going on. And then I also noticed I had the subtitles on because they just come on automatically on my TV for some reason, and it's a little bit off. The Joe, the delivery driver, he actually says when he opens up the toys, "This better not bite me in the ass."
Yeah, yeah,
Subtitles say, "I better not regret this."
yeah.
So if your child is deaf, then this movie is appropriate.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we've got some Pat Benatar playing when.
Oh, but it's not just Pat Benatar. It's like a remixed like halftime Pat Benatar.
Yeah, I noticed that it was different.
Yeah, it was weird.
So yeah, Kirsten Stewart gets her own intro music. Um, did you notice that the way these kids talk? No kid talks like this. This is like what the writers wanted to say when they were kids, and now they're going to make these kids say it, and it's so clumsy. I didn't even write anything down that they said, but it's later on when they're talking about some TV show. I can't remember what it is, but it's something that their parents watch, and they're it's the worst.
Yeah.
They're talking about it's just it's clunky.
Yeah, it feels almost like you'd. There's a scene in the film Gran Torino
Oh yeah.
when the two old dudes are talking to each other in the barbershop. That's how I felt like these conversations were imagined, and then they press them into kids without the F bombs and the F bombs. But you're totally right. It was just like the most clunky, weird. The whole film, like all the lines, even the references, the cultural references,
Mm-hmm.
feel so old timey and forced. I'm surprised anybody even understood them. Like the little girl. This is 1998. Do you like Led Zeppelin? It's my favorite band.
Oh my god, yeah.
This
Oh
is
well,
1998. So who wrote? Yeah, to your point, it makes no sense. Like
yeah.
it's clunky as hell.
No, a lot of the interests of these children don't make sense either. Because, I mean, unless these kids, I don't know, just have the greatest parents ever that show them things. Like, does it really look like her parents would show her Led Zeppelin?
No,
I mean,
she had. Yeah, she had like the nuclear family, dude.
I mean, Phil Hartman is definitely listening to Christopher Cross. There's no way he's listening to Led Zeppelin.
Maybe a little Kenny G.
So, I love the toys getting out of the box when they're distracted, and they go back and they find Chip Hazard holding a protractor to
Oh yeah, that's right.
with what does he say the line we have ways of making you talk? Is that where there he says it at some point in the movie. I don't remember if he says it there, but that line is actually a nod to Toy Story. It's the line Sid says to what is it, Commando Joe or Combat Carl. That's what it is.
Oh god.
We have
Yeah,
ways of making you talk.
I just saw that kid's fat face when you said
Oh
that.
my gosh, yeah. So yeah, we cut to Alan's home, where his dad is getting ready to leave on a plane trip, and the dad from Transformers is his dad because he's the dad of every
The
kid.
exact same
It's
character,
the
bro.
exact same character. It's actually, when I saw him, I was like, Shia LaBeouf should have been this kid. That would have been better.
You know what pisses me off the most is I don't understand what type of balance they were trying to achieve within the household they were trying to build. But that dad, oh, he hated that kid.
Yeah, it seems
It
like
was
it.
it was the worst. Dude, the kid rolls up and he's flying down the street. He throws his bike down. Dad, don't leave yet. Dad turns around. What you fuck up? I mean, legit. I mean, and the kid's like, you forgot your ticket. The kid's like, good job, boy.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is pretty heavy, dude.
I honestly will say, though, that one of the things I did forget, besides who played Alan, was the fact that he. What did he do exactly? He got kicked out of like two different schools for putting up some graffiti and flooding the faculty bathroom or staff room. And it's like, okay, that's believable, and that kind of gives him a little bit of edge. But what does that do for the story? Absolutely nothing. All it does is show you why his parents are shitty parents.
Yeah, I didn't understand it either because it's like I guess maybe they wanted to. I don't know. Maybe they wanted to try to compete. They're trying to build characters like every film does, right? Like they're always trying to build these characters so you actually enjoy them. So I guess by giving this kid a little bit of mystery, not just being your typical little white kid from the burbs, maybe it's like there's actually some appeal there. Maybe something happens that's special to this kid that changes him because he was always such a bad kid and now he learns responsibility. Something. But no, it had no essence. There was nothing about it.
It's
It
just
was
there's
kind of fun.
it's just there's no payoff. That's the
No,
only thing.
there's no payoff, and that's what's funny. Is I kept waiting because you made that point, and I waited the whole film for them to be like, well, this is why, I get kicked out of school, or this is why I have this reputation. No, and I don't even think he cops to it, which is silly. So I'm getting emotional about this.
No, sorry. Did you notice that his mom is dressed up like she's about to go work as a
As a
bellhop?
steward.
Oh,
Oh, you saw? I saw an airline stewardess.
oh, okay. Well, that would be. Oh, they're just gonna leave him home alone, I guess.
Yeah, the kid who burns everything down. Apparently, just leave that kid alone.
Yeah, it doesn't.
With a toy store.
I mean, if your kid is that troubled, do you think a career change might be in order? Spend some more time with your kid. Take him to a baseball game. Don't make him run the store.
Get back in line.
So, yeah, we're introduced to Phil Hartman, one of the most tragic figures of the 90s.
I love that guy. Past tense.
Actually was there. I had read some stuff about this film because I want to say this was released after he died.
Oh,
Let
really?
me check.
Yeah, I think he died in '97, dude.
He died in May of '98.
Oh,
So
it was
it was literally 2 months before this movie was released, and there were actually some scenes of him being attacked by the actual soldiers.
and they cut him.
They had to cut him, but I mean,
That's-
think about that. Like you're literally like a little more than a month away from releasing your film, and that happens, and you have to like rush into the editing bay and be like, okay, yeah, we can't put that in there.
No, dude.
But it's
I mean,
just sad.
Yeah, it is sad. I mean, it's every time you look. I mean, it's Phil Hartman to me. He was. I don't know. SNL days, I think, is what did it. But if you're looking at all these these '90s films, he always kind of plays the same guy, kind of like Transformers dad.
Yeah, because Jingle All the Way definitely comes to mind.
Ted.
Ted, yeah. Next door neighbor Ted.
Mom's petting Ted. It's a great line, dude.
So it's just funny that this is like, how many times have you seen this in the 90s? This plot line of the neighbor has a tree branch hanging over his fence line from the neighbor's tree, and he goes to cut it, and the neighbor's like, "Hey, that's my tree." This is like, how did that become a trope? But that's what's happening because Phil's trying to get the latest satellite dish.
Oh, yeah.
He's literally just playing his Jingle All the Way character.
Oh, so and let's make a point on the plot here. Let's note that for some reason Alan, our protagonist here, his dad, the guy who owns the toy store, as to why Alan's introduced to toys in the first place, hates technology.
Yeah.
Absolutely hates technology, and he's next door neighbors to Phil Hartman, who's also Kirsten Dunst's father.
Oh yes, we
Who,
did forget to mention that.
and they're totally obsessed with apparently technology. There's a whole scene you'll see in the film that's not noted here, but
or as Alan's dad would call it, techno crap.
techno crap. Yeah.
Yeah, just like all of the dish talk between the dad and the mom, like, oh, he's already got one on the ground, now he wants one up there. It's like, what's the difference? Like, nobody knew what they were talking about. I don't even know what they're talking about, but they don't know for sure.
I have to note real quick that Alan's mom, I had to look her up when I was watching the film.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to see other films she was in. Don't tell
Not
anybody,
much.
I kind of had a thing for her a little bit, I'm not gonna lie.
Like, as you looked her up, or back then?
No, like, well, I mean, yeah, both. I was like, there's something strangely familiar about her, and I looked her up, I was like, oh yeah, I remember now.
I don't know, she screams Anne Heche to me.
I don't. To each their own. I'm just saying she has a thing, and she's not the ugliest. Okay, anyways, moving on. So.
Yeah. So did you notice that Alan's room is just a loft with no door?
Yeah.
It's either the coolest kid's room ever, or it's the parents saying, we really don't trust you. You have no door. You are literally the living space.
I think the latter is appropriate in the film, the way the dad treated Alan.
Yeah. I've written down a less creepy kid than Indian in the Cupboard. I don't know why, but apparently he's less creepy than that kid.
Everything in that film was creepy, dude. In the Cupboard.
Yeah, it's very off.
As a kid, it made me uncomfortable as heck, dude. It's like we're back. That's what's bad to me.
So we cut to the store where the commandos are waking up in the store, and I forgot to mention how fast this kid puts up all the displays. Even though there's like not that many toys he's selling for it, but he puts up like the little cardboard cutouts of each character and the display. Like he actually like puts like the red backing to the shelves.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so we see the soldiers waking up to destroy and kill all the Gorgonites, and the shameless use of Terminator vision that the commandos all have, with like primary objective, Gorgonites,
Yeah.
objective kill. And
At one point, there was one of them looked at one of the parents, and it was like subject idiot or some really dumb insult. Like, okay, so we're okay with throwing bastard and shit and bitch around, but no, we can't. So we're just like idiot.
yeah, I think I wrote down what they wrote or what they said later. But
Oh, and I have to mention, we're talking about the bedroom. I'm sorry, I'm going back on my notes here. I'm not trying to be counterproductive, but I have to note that kid has a Power Man 5000 poster.
I did notice that too. Yeah, which I mean, were they big at that time? That is kind of like.
That kid didn't listen to Power Man 5000. Come on, dude.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that kid was like, "What show is that?"
This little cartoon.
Yeah, he told his mom, "I want a Power Rangers poster," and she's like, "I found this." That's good enough.
Power Man. Alright, sorry.
I do love the interaction between Alan and Archer. It's really nice, just like how Alan is abusing this gentle creature. I did love the Alan, now shut up.
Yeah, that's right.
That's very great.
My name's Alan, now shut up.
So yeah, Alan he finds out that Archer is smarter than the average toy, which should have been a tagline. And
everything else is just a toy.
He kind of just he does the sit, fetch, speak,
Yeah.
and Archer kind of walked to the end of the table. Oh my God, he is real. He's a real toy. And I don't remember if it's right after that or not, but Archer. Huh. No, yeah, I guess he attempts to explain what's going on, but. Oh, wait, hold on. Wow, I'm way off. Let's see. Meanwhile, Chip and his squad pursue Alan to his home and attempt to kill him and Archer in the kitchen. Whoa, this is way off. So yeah, I guess it was when Alan's sleeping that Archer gets on the computer. Is that right?
Correct. And he starts. Oh, this was one of my favorite parts of the film. Okay, so Archer, our living toy here, walks up to the Windows 98. It was state of the art at that point,
Uh huh.
and that sweet square mouse too. Check that thing out.
Mm-hmm.
That mouse, dude, I haven't seen one of those since '98. Walks up, puts his little toy foot on it, starts clicking the mouse. It shows a picture of like some Wyoming state park, and then it shows
Yosemite.
like oh yeah, in Yosemite, and it starts showing current events, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like Watergate and all this. It shows like Hitler and shows, and all of a sudden like I don't know, was it like a scene where he like absorbed everything and just became
I
all
don't.
knowing,
I
like
don't think
omniscient or
so.
something?
That I mean, I actually wrote down this is very Fifth Element ish.
Yeah, dude, like it was like absorption of information
Yeah.
at an instant rate, like the Matrix or something.
And it even
I
had like
understand.
that swelling string music behind it where like it ended on his last click to the actual like oh Gorgon.
Gorgon. Yeah, I don't understand the idea behind it. It was kind of cool for parents, I think, maybe ish. I mean, it was one of my favorite parts of the film. It was cool.
So I think around this time they show this might have been around the time they actually destroyed the toy store, but they show Chip giving his little rallying speech to the commandos about what they're gonna do, and this is
Very Patton.
it's actually funny because the guy who did the score for this did the score to Patton, and that's very it's like
Ironic.
almost like ripping off Patton, but he did the same score for this too. I think he just kind of like mixed it up a little bit.
I feel like the whole speech he gave was literally the five writers went and just found the most American expressions you could find.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Like
it's
we-
not what that's not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Now be what you can be.
I actually wrote down the best line, which was the only regret that you have is no, he says
The only regret you should have is only being able to give one life. Or
yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah. Only regret that you have but one life to live, or one life to give, and there will be no mercy.
Oh yeah, which is really ominous because it's on both sides, and the Gorgonites and the Commandos. They like to say that throughout the film, and I think that's the creepiest part of the film is there will be no mercy.
Uh huh.
I'm like, man, relax, Jigsaw. It's all right. Like your toys.
Oh my god.
It's okay.
So yeah, Alan gets back to the store and notices that the Gorgonites have been misplaced, and the store is a mess, and there are broken sails on the boat that is never been sold, and it looks like this kid's trying to do an insurance scam, which is what Kirsten Dunst calls out when she gets there to pick up her toy. And these kids start having a conversation that is the most 90s conversation I've ever heard. Do you watch X-Files? Yeah. Do you like Led Zeppelin?
Do you like? Well, no, that's like the '90s. It's so weird. Was Zeppelin even relevant in '98?
They got more relevant in the 90s, like, because in the 70s, yeah, they were around, but not, like, families weren't listening to Led Zeppelin. It was like you had to sneak it past your mom, but the 90s, like, parents were like, oh, they played that in the Chevy commercial.
Oh, it's true, dude. Yeah, I feel like that's about Ozzy now. It's terrible.
Yeah, I know. It's like
Prince of Darkness. He's not a Chevy Cruise commercial. I know you got one. Sorry. I'm
it's-
not dissing the Cruise.
But so yeah, they mentioned Family of Five, which I've never bothered to look up if that's actually a thing. Which I guess I'll do now.
Sounds bootleg.
I thought of what is it? Party of Five, which I think Family of Five is not a thing. It must be Party of Five they were talking about, but they just couldn't say Party of Five. So yeah, they're just talking about random stuff while she's helping him clean up. And
He says, I'm more of an X-Files guy myself. She says, the truth is out there, Alan.
yes, it's so bad.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, apparently he called in a bomb scare. He did graffiti and he flooded the faculty basement. And this girl is like, marriage potential.
That's husband material right there.
I don't understand like why, and he says it so like oh man, I'm so embarrassed. I didn't want you to find out. Like it was a MySpace photo of him and his friends out at the club or something.
MySpace reference.
Yeah. So her boyfriend pulls up, or is it her? I can't remember. Is it his dad gets there and notices everything that's going on, and as his dad's there, she just like she decides what is she hides the toys. See, when she took the toys, I thought she was stealing them. I was like, well, damn, get your toys and get out. I actually wrote that down. I was like, she just stole Archer. She's only after the toys, and then realized she gave it back to him. Like, never mind, she's cool.
Oh, you're cool. It's fine. Yeah, her little boyfriend pulls up. She bye Alan. Runs outside, God. And it's like some dude with another butt cut, and this kid's riding like a Kawasaki. You're 17 years old. How did you get this bike?
Yeah, he's not in high school. There's no way he's in high school.
Well, he's like, "You gonna come watch me practice my footballs?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'll be there." And it's like, who bought
yeah,
this bike?
but he's probably been like red shirted. He's been held back before that way he can be bigger in the team. So he's really like 19, but he's like a junior.
He's in the 5-year plan.
So then we cut to a scene of the commandos, scoping out the store, waiting for Alan to go home because they know he has Archer, and they are killing birds. They're killing baby birds, just throwing eggs out of the nest.
Did I not see this photo? I don't remember this.
It's like literally they cut to two like robin's eggs falling on the ground, and then like pan up to one of the commandos up in the nest. I actually wanted to, so I'm gonna read off some of the toy names. So of course we've got Chip Hazard, voiced by Tommy Lee Jones, and then you've got Archer.
Nick Nitro.
Well, I'm just gonna do like the big ones and then get to those. So Archer, Frank Langella. Does that name ring a bell?
Mm-hmm.
Frank Langella. He's probably best known for maybe for Frost Nixon. Played Nixon, got nominated for an Oscar, but he's. Do you remember that movie The Box with Cameron Diaz?
God, yes, dude. It was a short story by Richard Matheson before it became.
Yeah, I remember we actually talked about that. He was the old guy that said, "You've already opened the box."
He's an old guy who played Archer.
He probably was best known back in the 80s or 90s for Dracula. He played Dracula in one of those movies. So, the Commandos, we've got Brick Bazooka, voiced by George Kennedy, Butch Meathook, Jim Brown, Kip Killigan by Ernest Borgnine, maybe, Nick Nitro, Clint Walker, and Link Static, Bruce Dern. Bruce Dern was actually in The Burbs. He played the next door neighbor that was like military with the young girlfriend. And he's been in other stuff. But
I'm always semi-cultured, you have to remember.
Okay, yeah. The majority of these actors, though, were in a movie called The Dirty Dozen, I believe. Yes, The Dirty Dozen. And they actually wanted to get all of them to be... Well, actually, no. Okay, so the original casting for the Commandos they wanted was the entire cast of Predator. They wanted Arnold to be Chip. They wanted, I want to say it was, what's his name?
Carl Weathers?
No, Ventura. They wanted him to be...
Jesse Ventura, yeah.
Yeah, Brick Bazooka. They wanted, maybe, I guess it was Carl Weathers to be Butch Meathook. Hold on, I have the other trivia up. I can just edit this out.
This trivia is surprising me. I feel like this is like... You're telling me this stuff, I feel like this is the same moment I found out they were trying to cast Tupac for Mace Windu.
What? They wanted Tupac to be Mace Windu?
Look it up, bro.
Oh
He
God.
died too early, though. And that's not this podcast.
I kind of want it to be that podcast. So yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger would have been Chip Hazard. Shane Black, which I don't remember him being in Predator, but he was somebody. He would have been Kip Killigan. Carl Weathers would have been Butch Meathook. Jesse
Okay,
Ventura.
who would Billy have been?
Who?
Billy.
If he is Bill Duke, he would have been Link Static. Otherwise, he would have been Nick Nitro, if that's Sonny Landham. But yeah, so those were the people originally supposed to be. That was the envisioned cast, and then they got the Dirty Dozen to be the Commandos, which they wanted to get Charles Bronson to be Chip Hazard because Charles Bronson was the lead in Dirty Dozen, but he was like, I'm not going to touch that with a 9-foot pole. I already did Death Wish 5. I'm good. And so we have the voices of the Gorgonites. Well, actually, so we've got the characters of the Gorgonites. We've got Slam Fist.
Who's like a little Cockney. I don't know anything.
Yeah. And he is voiced by Christopher Guest, who was the Six-Fingered Man in Princess Bride, and he's also Nigel Tufnell in This Is Spinal Tap.
Oh, you know, the only thing I remember from Princess Bride is marriage.
You would remember the guy with the funny voice. And then we have Insaniac, who is voiced by Michael McKean.
He's more of like a Harvey or Rodney Dangerfield kind of. Hey, this is Joe's kid.
Yeah. He said one line like over and over. It was like, "What is this, Picasso?"
Stupid.
But so Michael McKean is known probably now best known for playing Saul's brother on Better Call Saul, but of course This Is Spinal Tap. He played the lead singer, lead guitarist. Clue played Mr. Green, and many other things. But he's and then I think he was also on Laverne and Shirley. And then we've got the voice of Punch It, who is Harry Shearer, who was also in Spinal Tap, and was also played many voices in The Simpsons, including Smith. Is it Smithers? Not Smithers.
Mr. Burns.
The principal.
Oh, just because you said it, dude.
God, I cannot. Okay, it doesn't matter. But they actually played. Or Michael McKean and Christopher Guest played the voices of two characters. Christopher Guest, Slam Fist, and Punch It. I
don't think Punch It had really much to say, except for the only thing that bothered me about the Gorgonites. You had you had like almost continuity between all the characters on the Commando side.
Mm-hmm.
They all sound like freaking jarheads. I mean, they just get some.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the Gorgonite side, you have Archer, who sounds like this. And then you have the other one that's like, please, can you tell us where we're supposed to go? He's like this weird, like, Pennsylvania/Mexican thing going on.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. And then you've got Slam Fist with the real heavy British accent. I didn't really understand. I think they're all supposed to be. Oh, and then you've got Ocula, which I don't think he really says too much.
Yeah, Ocula's actually voiced. He's Ocula. I don't know if it's a guy or girl. I think they actually left it ambiguous on purpose, but voiced by Jim Cummings, who, just look up Jim Cummings, you'll see he's provided the voices of like everybody. Like he's probably best known now for doing the voice of Pete on Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, which I know because my son watches it all the time. But he has that voice of Pete. Just imagine.
Does Oculus say anything?
No, I mean he just kind of goes. That type of stuff. So back to the story. I just kind of wanted. I just wanted to bring up the fact that all of these characters are voiced by big name actors. So pretty good graphics, I thought. The bike scene.
It was pretty good.
on
dude.
the bike scene with who is it that actually is it Bazooka that gets caught up in the chain?
Yep. And the
Um,
dog's chasing him, and
and did you notice uh, Wilhelm scream? He gets knocked off the bike, and we get our first Wilhelm scream. Not the last, but the
oh, yes, we
first.
did.
And then, so we get a scene of Alan calling customer service for the
Oh,
toys.
and this is the point I made in the very beginning of this. I said I couldn't tell if it was satirical or not.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't know if they were like, "This is gonna be a freaking sweet movie, dude," or they're like, "This is gonna be so funny, watch." But the scene with Sherry O'Terry,
Uh huh.
she answers the phone, and she's like, "Thank you for calling, Globodyne or whoever it is. What's
Mm-hmm.
the name of the company? I
Globe,
keep forgetting it.
Globotech.
Globotech. It's just so generic, dude. Thank you for calling Globotech. She sounds like a robot, dude. I was like, oh, confirmed.
Yep.
The satire.
Sherry
It was so funny,
O'Terry
dude.
in an uncredited role, by the way.
What?
Yeah, not credited. I guess she wasn't a part of SAG at this point. But
Oh my god.
it is really funny when she says, "Have a good day, ma'am." I'm not a ma'am.
Yeah, I actually laughed at that. I was at work. People were probably like, what's going on here?
I mean,
See,
it wouldn't have been as funny if he didn't say it back. But I'm not a ma'am.
yeah.
And this kid is he's toying with some reality bending stuff because he's got a sticker on his computer that says "Question reality."
Oh, question reality. I saw that. Yeah, I saw that and I almost freaked out, man.
Hmm. So yeah, I also just kind of noted that I really feel like after this movie, in general, toys would not be able to sell unless they had a movie or a TV show behind it. Like just think like we had GI Joes before the TV show, and we had Ninja Turtles before the TV show, and now it's like if you're gonna have a toy, it has to already have a TV show or a movie based on it.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, because the amount of money they pour into these marketing campaigns is so ridiculous that if it's almost part of the budget if you think about it. If somebody has an idea for a toy, why only have an idea for a toy when you can have an idea for a film and a toy?
Yeah, I mean
So
it's such a capitalist thing to that our
it's
toys have gotten to that, but
yeah, it's awesome. I mean, if you think about the money that potentially me and you could make, you know, let's make another Small Soldiers.
so let's see. Um, this is the scene where Alan hears a bunch of noise in the kitchen, goes downstairs and finds Nick Nitro holding Archer suspended above the garbage disposal, and he ends up actually cutting Alan, which I was like, wow, they're really going to put a kid's life at risk in this movie.
The kid. Okay, so one of the commandos has a Dremel drill, which
Hmm.
looks like a little saw on the end. It like turns kind of clunkily, like an
Yeah,
animatronic, towards cuts Alan's hand, and it looks like it just like red nail polish just across his hands.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. No serrated, just kind of like it's on the
yeah.
surface.
Now I do have to say that one of the commandos gets knocked into the garbage disposal, and it's Nick Nitro, right?
Yeah,
And the only reason I keep quoting this guy is the way this thing dies.
yeah,
When I was a kid, this Nick Nitro character gets all chewed up in the garbage disposal, and the other commando buddies try to save him, or whatever. But as he's dying, he looks up at Chip Hazard and he says, "Did we win?" And all of a sudden, the head like contorts and like twitches, and he goes, "Ugh," and it dies, and the mouth gapes open, and Tommy Lee Jones or Chip Hazard goes, "We will now, we will." And I'm like, as a kid, it was horrifying the way that like the head contorted. You know what I'm talking about?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it was scary, and actually, all of them die like that. They don't just like fall over like toys. They all fall over like hell bent demons,
Yeah.
pissed off about going back to hell. It's creepy, man. I don't know. Sorry, again,
Yeah,
I'm emotional about it again.
I feel like this story would have been a little better if it was like Gorgonites versus some other race that is similar to Gorgonites, like monsters versus monsters. But when you put people or toys that look like real people and then you have them dying, it's a bit on the edge of realism.
Yeah, for kids, you're putting ideas in their heads, and for me, it was trippy, trippy, trippy. I don't know why. You only remember feelings. You don't remember specifics. Looking back,
Hmm.
and I remember specifically that scene tripped me the frick out.
So we move on to, oh yeah, Alan's parents walk in and they're like, "What the hell is going on in here?"
Yeah.
And and yeah, this is where Alan tries to explain, like, look, the toys are alive. Look, Archer can talk. Halt! Who goes there? And then we get just a smattering of different 90s drug slang from the mom. Are you on crank? Are you on
Oh yeah.
tar? Are you on
You on
smack?
smack?
Oh, like, what are these titles? Who's doing smack and then calling it that?
Well, I don't know. It was
Oh.
never mind. I can't even think of the reference right now. But yeah, it was pretty funny. I can understand maybe smack, but tar.
I
I don't
mean,
know.
I don't know. It's just, yeah, tar. So the Chip Hazard theme that goes throughout this is the one you were talking about. It's the only one I actually like.
Which? Whoa, is that? Oh, is that Chip's theme?
Yeah, the
Oh
drum with the
yeah.
guitar. It's the only thing I like. Um, so is it I guess it's Nick Nitro that says "tis a flesh wound," which is
Yeah, yeah. Monty Python.
uh
Tis a
and
flesh wound.
I love how they like they make it so real with like the wartime jargon, but they like his battery has run out.
Yeah, dude.
And it's
That's
pretty
what I'm
cool.
saying. That's what was funny about it. I didn't understand for the antagonists. They got a lot more dialogue and a lot more screen time than the Gorgonites did. And I thought the Gorgonites really had more potential for kids to like really feel something and build character, feel like a love for character. Like we wanted to really love Archer.
Hmm.
Like as a kid, like you're watching the film, like you really actually want to connect to something, and that's what I think it really fell short here. Is they were trying to make a movie that just sold toys. I guess I don't know. It's just weird because you have all these characters. Like yeah, I guess the Commandos are cool, but I mean, really, at the end of the day, you want to watch. You'd rather watch Homer Bound than probably like, I don't know. You want to make a connection somewhere. So
Yeah. So and
I don't know
then
if that was way off subject. So
no, I mean it just adds context. So yeah, after that, Alan and Archer they go back to the store to try and find the rest of the Gorgonites, and that's where they get into the dumpster.
oh yeah,
And they find them all. Which actually, if you look close in the dumpster, there's a Gizmo doll in there as well.
another Easter egg, huh? I
Yeah.
guess the guy's just trying to write off its fame, Gremlins.
He's like, hey, remember I did this movie that was much better than this? Don't judge me.
Yeah, please. I'm not that low right now. I did this at one point. That's
Um,
funny.
so and then yeah, we cut to a scene of Larry and Irwin at the lab trying to figure out what because they've gotten the call about the what's it called the customer service call that Alan made has reached them. I think this is actually the scene where Jay Moore and David Cross are just kind of sitting in a room talking about the call, or are they talking about the call? And then Jay Moore's like, playing with that weird little toy, and he's like, there's nothing that could be wrong. And then he's like, oh, well, what's that? Oh, it's just like, oh, like talking about the toy.
Oh yeah, that's a oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that scene you just have to watch. It's so awkward that it's like even explaining it doesn't do it justice. So.
I skipped over it because it's such a like not even worth mentioning scene. But yeah, so they go to the lab to talk to the scientists to figure out what they can do about the chips. And this dude Ralph, which I think he's actually like an actor, like maybe Canadian actor, but this dude is just throwing exposition out like everywhere, left and right, and it's so annoying because there's one little thing that I love in all of my TV shows and movies, and that's show don't tell. And this movie does not trust anyone to see, I guess, anything. So he has to just tell everyone. And he sneezes in his helmet. which is funny.
Yeah, I guess as an 8-year-old, there's boogers on the glass.
um, and then
Well,
we
then again, we are talking about small soldiers, so okay.
well, we get the very first good song in the movie, which is I guess it's actually called Rock and Roll Part Two, but it's the yeah.
Oh, that's yeah. It's like
Yeah.
a sports anthem song.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just wrote down football song.
yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much how I know it too.
And then we get Tom Sawyer, which I don't remember at what point this is playing, but Tom Sawyer plays at some point. It
Oh,
might
really?
have it might have been when they're in the garage building a bunch of stuff, like taking all the tools and everything.
I don't remember that, but
Actually, no. I mean, the next line I have written down is a line from Kirsten Dunst, so it might have has something to do with her. But it's just so funny. She says, "I only date older guys. Nothing personal."
there
Like,
you go.
that's kind of personal. Can't really do anything about your age. But yeah. And then another one bites the dust. We've got three great songs, like back to back to back, to make up for that god awful score.
It's true. Well, you can't forget about what comes in a little bit, but we'll just wait.
Oh yeah, I mean everyone remembers that. But
Yeah.
so yeah, then we get a scene of just Alan and the Gorgonites hanging out in his room, and what kid only gets like 1950s monster movies on his TV? Like, why aren't they flipping through like Larry King Live and Judge
That's
Joe Brown?
Ocula. Yeah. Was Joe Brown around in '98, or was
I
that
mean,
Judge Judy?
the equivalent of him in the 90s.
Judge Judy. Yeah, she's awesome, by the way. Yeah, Oculus stuck to the screen watching that. He's a friend of yours.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some really noteworthy, like, fun, feel good movies. Like when your kid is old enough, you sit down and like, go watch this movie, Daddy. I love this movie. And like, there's a lot of great moments in the film to kind of redeem it. I
Hmm.
think.
So this is around the same time that the commandos are in Christie's house. I haven't even mentioned that her name is Christy. Kirsten Dunst's name is Christy.
Oh, that's not confusing. The director.
But so yeah, the commandos they're in Christie's house because they've wiretapped Alan's phone and realized that he was talking to her when she said the boyfriend or the older guy's line. So these toys they actually do the Terminator vision again, and they look at the drink and notice that it is a gin and tonic. Why do
Yeah.
they know what a gin and tonic is?
And it's like citrus water and gin, or it's
Hmm.
alcohol, or something that's like drink gin and tonic. And it's interesting because parents are watching and like, oh.
Hmm.
Now there's a notable line here later in the film when I don't know if you wrote it down. You probably did. What Phil Hartman says.
What does he say?
Well, they're blaming. We'll just keep going. Let's keep moving. I just get too excited and I want to tell everything in the bird. So.
All right, so yeah, Phil, which I guess Phil Hartman's name in the movie is Phil. Him and
Yeah,
his
interesting.
wife are sitting down for a nice quiet inn, nice romantic World War II epic on big screen TV and surround sound. And you can tell the wife is just like not impressed. Like, oh, okay, sit down already. He's just going through like surround sound, Dolby Digital, 5.1, and she's just like, okay, okay.
It's a pretty HEC. It's pretty sweet HEC though, dude.
I mean, if midlife crisis is gonna take form, might as well be a TV and not a Corvette.
You don't have to make so many payments on it at least.
But so yeah, the commandos are just catapulting sleeping pills into their drinks, and within like I assume 5 minutes, the mom is out, and Phil is just like lightweight, and just starts drinking his, and it's just like, oh my god, it's actually pretty funny, but
I thought it was pretty funny.
little brother, again, just the most annoying thing, like when he's like getting attacked by the commandos and then hog-tied. How does this kid get, like, it's the problem I've always had in any movie that has a toy as the antagonist. It's like, just pick him up and throw him away. Just kick him, step on him. If anything, grab a shovel and scoop him out the window. This kid is so useless.
Chucky's pretty big.
Yeah, Chucky's a little bigger, I guess, but these are like plastic.
I don't know, man. That's what trips me out about this next scene that you're about to talk about. Keep going.
I do like the commandos walking into the room with all the Gwendy dolls, and it's like, it's like Siam, dude. They're walking in. It's like, oh, everybody's up on a harbor leave.
No, hey, mama.
Yeah.
All the Wendy dolls on the wall. No, let's clarify. Wendy dolls, if you haven't seen the film yet, are
Gwendy dolls.
Oh, that's right. Gwen dolls. They're Barbies ultimately.
Mm-hmm. They're just different title for a Barbie doll. But so yeah, Chip gets the brilliant idea to create an army of dolls by using Nick Nitro's head. And if the scene you're talking about, the one with him dying, wasn't traumatic, get ready, because peeling off the skin of a skull and breaking it in half to grab a chip, it's just gotta be one of the most like disturbing images if you're relating these toys to real people.
And it's so like cold too. It's like Nick's memory will live on.
Yeah.
Pull open the skull, take the chip. Now, what they do with the they create this like Frankenstein contraption assembly line to bring all the Gwendy dolls to life. I don't know if you want to touch base on that, but
I mean, it's pretty cool. Did they play a song during that?
I don't know. I just remember the one. What's his name? Bazooka Bill or whatever his name is, screaming out, "It's alive! It's alive!"
Oh, he does say that, doesn't he?
Yeah. What's it referencing? I can't remember.
Frankenstein.
Oh. Yeah.
It's pretty easy. No, I at first was kind of confused as to why they had to strip them naked and pull out all of their hair and deform their heads. But I guess if they had to insert the chip into their head, maybe. But then again, their bodies aren't made of the same material, so what is this chip plugging into?
Maybe it was just a byproduct. Maybe they stripped them naked and pulled their hair out for other reasons.
Which actually, now that I'm thinking about it, don't they put the chip in the back? Like on their back?
They had one chip.
Yeah.
They had one chip. How do they produce like 1,400 of these broads?
Oh, yeah, they just... they must have just looked at it and been like, this is how we do it, and we just, take some Coke cans and some razor blades, some marshmallows. So yeah, Christy is getting home from her date with her boyfriend, I think. She might have just already been there, but he's really lame, so it's really hard to pay attention to his scenes.
That's right. He has like one main scene where he's begging to come inside. You're 15 years old. Stop it.
He's like, yeah, my bike wouldn't start. What am I gonna do? We just come in and chill with you.
Looking like Bass and shit.
But so yeah, the Gwendy dolls, they all have these like little program phrases, and
dude, my favorite, Cannon Fodder Wendy. I'm gonna start a band called Cannon Fodder Wendy.
Was that really a thing? I don't remember that.
And she's like, yeah, she said something like, "Hey baby, Cannon Fodder Wendy." Like, I was like, dude, this is the best. I'm literally starting a punk band next week.
Oh no!
You're gonna start a punk band, Cannon Fodder Wendy.
So they play a Led Zeppelin song for when, I guess maybe it's when, it's
they're
when
tying her up.
Yeah, it's when they're tying her up
Chrissy
and they're fighting the boyfriend, which I was trying to see if it's the communication breakdown, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And, did you notice all of the Dutch angles in this scene? Like, just like all of the wonky, like, cop to the side a little bit angles. Like, okay, I guess it makes it seem a little more, like, detached. But they literally light the boyfriend on fire. They light his leg on fire, which I was actually going to mention this. I don't know if you can see that, but I burned my finger lighting a candle the other day, and that happened.
It's kind of the same.
That was about 2 weeks ago, and this kid had his whole leg go up. So if he is playing footballs, it's over.
You playing foosball?
No, no
Yeah,
more.
what's I think they tried to add more comedic effect when they made him pull his pants off. I just felt a little turned on. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't even remember him taking his pants off, but I did
Yeah,
note that.
he has his little panties and like ran out of the house. Oh.
Well, now that he's gone, Kirsten Dunst is free to move on and date younger guys.
That's right, Alan.
And then Chip's little line, "You'd be crazy not to be scared."
Oh yeah, are you scared? We're all scared. Yeah, that was awkward, man. I mean, this isn't Vietnam.
I know.
And who programmed these things? I mean, like, okay, let's be realistic because it's like people like to differentiate and draw lines with Star Wars. Okay, so let's have a line drawn here. Who programmed? I know they're supposed to learn. Fine, they're capable, and they mention this in the film that they're capable to learn with. Oh, and the scientists.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, he says they're capable of learning within their parameters.
Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic. When's the last time this guy hung out with a seasoned veteran from the Marine Corps who did 4 tours in Nam or something? Like, where did this guy learn all these expressions, and why does he have like this?
I just assume that since they had that recording or like the little commercial that they showed Dennis Leary, that they had already programmed a lot of this stuff. Like they've been working on it, because if they had only 3 months to like make an outline for the actual toys, then yeah, I'd be worried, or I'd be a little questioning a little bit more. But they probably had like a couple of years to think out the characters and fully flesh them out.
I guess, but damn.
But then we get the scene of the commandos shooting a ransom VHS tape to Alan's house, nearly killing Ocula, or
Yep.
I guess putting her out of commission. And I love the little like Insaniac is what was always my favorite as a kid. The little like crazy Spawn looking character with like the weird mohawk, and he literally like during the ransom video was like, "Oh, what else is on?"
Oh yeah.
And he also has written, or I've also written down that he says 3 words, folks: puberty.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I catch that.
I've written down what the hell is going on, or what's on Phil's chest when he's passed out. I think he had like chips or something on his chest or something. Oh.
Well, I'll tell you that. No, we're gonna keep going because I don't want to.
Yeah, we're at almost an hour and a half, so.
Oh really? Yeah. We can wrap up then.
So the next scene is Wendy Dolls going postal, and which is actually one of the lines they use, and getting beat up by Kirsten Dunst. But did you know that Sarah Michelle Gellar and Christina Ricci were the ones that provided the voices for the Wendy Dolls?
I can see that.
And then I wrote down the best lines which was, she's gone postal, oh, the humanity, and then the line I was talking about earlier, which is, you bitch, you're killing me.
Oh, that's right. That's totally, I remember now.
Yeah, so, and then I guess we get the big climax, the big fight. Flaming CDs are thrown as weapons, which...
And blown car windows out. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's when Alan and all the organized to go over and they save Chrissy, and yeah, the CDs are being shot at the family portraits lining the stairway up to the stairway to heaven.
Yeah.
You've done this before, once or twice, when she sneaks out the window, and I've just written down, that's what she said. And then we get, war! Yeah! The best part of the frickin' movie, the one that I, as a child, probably ruined on the VHS because I just rewound it over and over. Just like them busting out of the garage with those little like cars, those little Jeeps and like Humvees, like the little like rocket launchers and the net launcher, and the little like they have like the little corn cob stickers that they like shoot into his leg.
Yeah, they shoot 3. And Alan's acting like he's pierced by like some spears or something. Is like, okay, so I have to say right now, I'm a big fan of practical animation.
Mm-hmm.
They did a sick job on that last with all little cars that they somehow like OSP built. Like they built these cool little, dude, really cool with the flamethrower and the nail gun.
Yeah.
It's so cool, dude. It's so innovative. Like they really did have some cool prop masters. Like sit down and say, hey, like they all hit the bong too many times, and they're like, hey, how can we really build something really cool? And they said, oh, I really really enjoyed that last scene. That was fun.
I did too.
Even as a kid, yeah.
Like I said, like I think it might have actually just been that song, because I remember rewinding over and over the scene of Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker learning each other's like skills in rush hour when they're like wasting time for an hour, and they're just like Jackie Chan's teaching them kung fu, and the whole like what it isn't good for absolutely nothing.
No.
But so yeah, they hop on the back of a Vespa and ruin the mood by changing the song to the score.
Dude, that is the best freaking Vespa chase scene I've ever seen in my life.
Well, yeah, I mean, save for like
sick, bro. When they light that tree up and the tree falls and around the dude, that was nasty business. But the best part was when they blow up. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, the tree falling is definitely like, okay, we're back into like not having fun mode. Like before, the kids probably could have been like, I'm kind of into this.
Yeah. Something kind of fun. Thanks, Hasbro.
So yeah, the Vespa, the heaviest thing in all of this chase, somehow makes it over a ditch. Doesn't just fall into the ditch, but makes it over, and the toys all fall into the ditch and inexplicably just explode somehow, and all the toys should have died. Not just everyone, but Chip. But Chip somehow survives, floats down the river, and he gets to like the toy factory,
like Toy World, like a
Toy
R Us.
World.
Like we can say Toys R Us not because they're closing. So yeah, you went to Toys R Us.
Yeah.
And somehow like 10 hut all of them.
Oh, it was. I wrote it down. It was Giant Toy World.
Oh, Giant. Oh, absolutely. That's great. Great marketed name.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
But yeah, so Chip survives that. He's floating down the river towards Toy Heaven, and we get the neighbors all fighting about which kid is worse, Alan or Christy. Because
and this is the scene when the parents say, your son came to our house and he drugged me and my wife, and he says, Marion is still tripping.
She's still tripping.
And I was like, yes, that's a pretty sweet line, Phil.
That kind of actually makes sense. So yeah, I guess the scientists show up. The creators of the toys show up to Alan's house, and they are armed with. We didn't even mention this when we talked about the lab scene, but the way to actually destroy or to disengage the toys is to set off a electronic magnetic pulse.
Oh yeah,
or
because
electromagnetic pulse.
They're so easy to come by.
Mm-hmm. And they somehow have one, which I don't even know if they have one or they just know how to make one. It has something to do with the power lines. Do you remember why the dad punches out Jay Moore? I don't remember why.
God, something dumb. He says like, "It don't matter. Just watch the movie." I have no idea. It was something really stupid.
I just wrote down the dad just punched Jay. He deserved it. And then they wanted to make you aware that David Cross is smart, so they gave him glasses and a college sweatshirt, in case you weren't, aware that he's smart. So the commanders are outside of their house, and Phil decides he's going to be the negotiator and walk out, and he starts getting pelted with shit. And I've written down, this is exactly how Phil dies. Not Phil Hartman, but Phil. And then I've just written down a bunch of lines: Gorgonzola's,
Oh, wait.
Arnold Benedict, and is that my JVC?
Hashtag 98.
I remember that line being so funny when I wrote it down. And then the commandos decided to use, um, I don't know what you would call it, like some sort of tactical warfare where they play "Wannabe" by the Spice Girls on full
Honey, I
blast.
love this song.
I
Yeah,
love this song.
it was, I guess you just call it, like, psychological warfare.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there you go. Psychological warfare.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, the mom is an idiot. She's drunk and she's an idiot. And then we go to shots of all the neighbors being like, "Oh, the Femples," or what are they? The Femples.
Yeah, turn your shit down! Like, this is a normal thing. Like, they always have their music cranking. Especially you Spice Girls.
And then
Always cranking.
then we had a another cameo. I don't know if you noticed this, but one of the neighbors, an old man who plays the husband of an old lady, is Ron Howard's dad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Rance Howard.
Oh, no, I didn't even notice.
I recognize him in, like almost everything he's in. Um, so Jay Moore finally accepts being a nerd. I don't know what that means, but oh yeah. So they start shooting flaming tennis balls into the kitchen, and the mom's like, "Here, hold my beer. I got this."
Yeah, I played a little tennis in college. Watch me.
and
And she gets the hang of it eventually.
I don't even know if I wrote it down, but I just remembered one of my favorite lines was like, "We better go save your mom before she gets tennis elbow."
Yeah, dude.
So yeah, the parents and nerds are calmly discussing nuclear warheads while warfare is actually occurring. And then I've written down, "Holy shit, this movie's still on." Because did you not remember this movie being like maybe like 80 to 90 minutes long?
You know, I thought it was going to be when I rented it, and then I I pushed play, and it showed that there was like 120 minutes or something. I was like, oh,
It's an
fudge.
hour and 48 minutes long.
Yeah, dude. I mean, with credits, you're sitting solid 2 hours. This is almost James Cameron status. I don't know if I want to commit that much time to this film.
I mean, that's half. It's half the time that James Cameron thinks you sit through. But I guess the cat gets blown up or something. Because I've written down "poor kitty." I don't remember. I remember something about the cat. I was actually going to mention that they show a cat licking Archer earlier on in the movie,
He's
and
laughing.
this movie gets it. It gets that dogs don't really appeal to me. They get me. I guess I should say that. I don't like dogs. I
What are
like.
you talking about?
I don't know. I like cats, and the movie has cats and no dogs.
Okay, here's another plot hole. So the cat is you brought the cat up. The cat's licking Archer, and he goes,
Uh-huh.
he's giggling while the cat's licking him. But then later, he's like, look, there's commandos in the trees. And Alan's like, no, Archer, don't be silly. That's just the wind. And he's like, the wind?
Yeah, he
He's
holds
like,
his hand out.
You can feel it. And Archer's like, I have no feeling. I'm a toy. Okay, how did you know the cat was licking you then?
Yeah.
Bullshit. You know, don't play stupid.
Well, I don't know. Cats are just awesome. That's probably why he was just like, "Oh, this thing is interacting with me."
The cats are alright, dude.
So yeah, we get a little moment of the dad and Alan just having a little like, let's put our heads together. Let's have a bonding moment right now while everything is blowing up, while your mom is probably being tied up by the commandos because she's gotten tennis elbow.
Alright.
And then I've written down, it's like Michael Bay saw this and cast the dad to play the exact same character in the Transformers.
No, dude, Michael Bay saw that film and said, I'm gonna make every freaking movie I ever do like this, but with chopper shots.
Yeah, because in the very next scene we get the helicopter, and I've
That's right.
written down every helicopter scene in every movie since Apocalypse Now has to have Fly to the Valkyries playing.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Because, I mean, tell me I'm wrong. But, oh, somebody quotes or says Nine Inch Nails, something. I guess like they start shooting nails out of the chopper, and it's Nine Inch Nails, and it's like, huh, maybe they're making an Eminem reference, but that seems to be before Eminem.
I
I
have
do,
no
I
idea.
do love. They're just like they're fighting with like a bunch of different weapons, and that's just like how about some Nine Inch Nails? And then and then someone says, oh no, it's Insaniac has a ball and a chain, and he says, oh, the old ball and chain.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And then I've just written down that he was my favorite as a kid. And the humans interacting with the toys fighting, that's like really the only scene in the movie that CGI really fails because it just seems like they aren't aware of like how high up they're supposed to be, like how tall the toys are supposed to be, because like everything that they're doing is kind of off.
Yep.
Like obviously there's nothing there. Um,
I felt like it was kind of silly with the. Oh, it doesn't matter. Keep going.
so then we get Alan trying to, I guess like trip the circuit breaker on the power line. To
That's what I was gonna say. So the dad says, "Good point. I want to like skip too far
yeah,
forward."
yeah.
So the dad and the son are having a moment, and he says, "Dad, I have to do this." It's like, "Fine, son, you go do that." Have you ever seen what happens to a grown man if he touches one of those things and it goes off?
I mean, I've seen it in
It
a
blows
movie.
his arms off. He has no arms. He has two little bloody stubs that he wiggles around as he screams in terror. That's what he's got left. He's
Yeah.
a yodeling potato, Kenny.
The dad is just like, yeah, you go ahead and do that. We're gonna cash in some insurance, and then we're gonna go to Tahiti because we only have one kid.
That's right, dude.
So yeah, Alan is. He's just trying to steal a little cable. Let's just be honest. He's just up there. He's trying to do the old switcheroo, the old cable guy routine. And Chip Hazard lands down, and he is stabbing him in the hand again.
Yep.
Everyone I think the director had it out for this kid, Gregory Smith, apparently.
Just smack the freaking toy. It's a toy. It weighs 8 ounces.
So yeah, as I said, I used to reenact the scene with a friend of mine. Or actually, he wasn't a friend of mine. He was just a kid I hated, and I was like, "You're gonna be Archer." um,
That's awesome.
and then there is a child's play moment in this, which I didn't write down. I just wrote down child's play moment, but um, something along the lines of like, this is the end, friend.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then, did you notice? No cops. Still,
No.
this is going on for at least half an hour to maybe an hour. No cops.
In a neighborhood like that, you have a response time probably, 6 to 8 minutes? There's a cop probably on every block.
I mean, there's probably a cop that lives there.
This isn't South Central.
Um,
No response times of 40 minutes.
but we get another Wilhelm scream when I think it's when Chip falls, but yeah, we get the lame fade out of Chip dying, and then if you notice, the next scene is I guess it's like the aftermath. We have one fire truck and one ambulance, no cops.
Yeah, isn't that funny? And there's no news crews. And actually, what's his name flies up in the chopper. Like, it's him. It's him.
So absurd that he just lands his chopper on the street and nobody says anything.
Yeah, he has a check. I need you to go screw yourself, all right?
Yeah.
And the guy's like, oh boy, howdy, that's a great check. I'll move the truck now, sir.
And I kind of like the whole way through the movie, I was like, what is the movie trying to do? Like, what is the goal? What is the message? What's the moral? And I figured it out at this moment. Money fixes all your problems.
Yeah.
If you have
Yeah,
a
for sure.
problem and you're really upset about it, and somebody is there with a checkbook, hey, guess what? You can fix your house. You can get a better house. You can get a better wife.
Shh, we don't talk like that.
And then I've written down. They ask how much they sell the toys for, and $79.95. Which, holy shit! If my mom ever tried to buy something like that, I'd be like, "No, mom, I want a better thing. I want a trampoline. I want to go to college."
For $80, books. Yeah. No, I'll buy a book. Yeah, and what's funny is Dennis Leary has a line. How much are we selling these things for? And they're like $79.95. And he goes, slap a couple zeros on it. I know a couple guys out in South America, need some resistance fighters.
Yeah.
Are you shitting me? So now we're going to use these things as espionage tools. We're going to use them to fight wars by proxy. I mean, it's a cool idea, but they're not that efficient. I mean, they're just shooting staple guns at folks. I mean, come on, dude.
And then we've got the, this would have made a hell of a commercial.
So dumb.
What? And then,
okay,
so the satellite. What happens with the satellite?
Okay, so apparently the satellite dish had some sort of lead.
Oh,
which doesn't really make sense to me because usually satellites are made of like reflective material that I don't know. I'm not a scientist. Anyways, so apparently the Gorgonites are trapped underneath the satellite. I don't know who lifted the satellite to put these 8-ounce creatures underneath.
No,
giant
I assume it just fell on them. They were all huddled together and it fell on them, which explains why I've written down satellite ex machina. But so yeah, then we get the scene of Alan finding them, and then I don't remember if they come back to life just then, or if it takes a minute. But he takes the Gorgonites to Yosemite National Park, which I don't know if you know this. I'm pretty sure this is supposed to take place in Ohio.
Oh, is it?
It's supposed to take place in Ohio. I don't know if they shot it there, but that's where it's supposed to take place.
No mountains like that there, pal.
And this kid by himself goes to Yosemite National Park, and at least a place that looks like it. I mean, there's no place in Ohio that looks like that. And then just sets them out on a large boat for them to find their home, which doesn't exist. And what are they gonna do now? They're going to go wreak havoc in some other town. This is like Jumanji. Some other unexpected town is gonna be like, hey!
He didn't send the commandos. He sent the freaking Gorgons, dude. Okay, so my question is this: are they weatherproof? Are they water resistant? What happens if they fall in the water? That's it.
Well,
no Gorgon.
Trying to think if they were introduced to water at any point during the movie. There was the sink scene with Nick Nitro, but there's no water, so...
No water?
Well, maybe.
Okay, so the other part is, why is there a camper...
Go ahead.
Why is there a camper in the back with fire going, like he's out there camping? And why are they in a Viking ship?
Isn't that the same ship that his dad, or that he was fixing at his dad's store?
Yeah, his dad was all freaked out about fixing the mast, and they just jack him from the toy store and go throw it in the water. I mean, it's a Viking ship. Isn't that a little telling?
That they're Vikings? Or that they're gonna come rape and pillage?
Pillaging and raping.
A little bit more appropriate for the Commandos, I agree. And then we get one last reference, one last pop culture reference of Insaniac saying, I hope we don't hit an iceberg.
That's right, yeah.
And so that is Small Soldiers.
Small Soldiers. Now I have to say, what is that music? Did you put that on?
You hear music?
You don't hear music?
No.
Are you serious?
Yeah, there's no music happening.
Okay, I hear Muse happening or something.
You're probably picking up my wife. She's probably listening. She's probably listening to Muse.
Okay, this is really happening. I'm listening to music right now.
I'm sorry. Can you continue on without it?
Sure, I can. It sounds great. I just don't know what it is. I'm pretty sure it's Muse.
Yeah, I mean, she listens to Muse a lot, so probably.
I don't believe anymore is what it's saying. I don't believe anymore. Bro, you're screwing with me right now.
I'm not listening. I can't hear anything.
Alright, so Small Soldiers, I don't know what common sense is, but common sense gives it a 3 out of 5.
Oh, okay.
Which is a 60%. Empire, I don't really care about. Rotten Tomatoes gives us a 48%.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you can honestly throw on your... I'm in the middle of a bridge right now, so I can focus. If If you can give it a of 100%, what would you give it out of 100?
Out of 100, me as a adult now would say, I mean, it's entertaining. If not just for like how stiff it is at some points, it would probably be higher. But I'd probably go somewhere around like 55%. Like it's not something I'd seek out, but if it was on TV and I lost the remote, I'd probably not leave. Um,
Okay.
but it's more for nostalgia because like even just watching this now, I was more just kind of like glued to it because of like all the memories flooding back. Now, if I was watching it with my son, I'd sit there and like actually make him watch it because I think it'd be really fun. And also, if I were to give this a rating as a child, I'd probably say like 99 to 100.
Yeah, for sure. As a kid, I would say probably around 99 to 100. It was awesome as a kid. The toys were fun. The video games were fun. I still have my Archer toy when I went up to Universal Studios. Made my dad buy it for me. It was sick. What is this Muse playing in my head? This is weird. Anyways, and as an adult, honestly, I had to choke it down. I'm not going to lie. I can't wait to do the next one because I hope it's like Ready to Rumble or Detroit Rock City or Saving Silverman or something like big because I really had a hard time as an adult watching this. That's
Yeah,
just me. And the whole time we're supposed to be talking about the film, and I'm like bashing. I'm like, oh, it's pretty irredeemable. It's pretty deplorable. I
I mean
can't handle this.
that's what we're here to do. We're here to see if this movie should be remembered or not. Which I will say,
Kenny, well, listen. Oh, you can't hear, dude. My
hold on,
heart will
hold
go
on.
on by Celine Dion. Is she listening to Celine Dion? Ask her.
She's not in the room.
Oh my God, this Celine Dion's happening in my head right
She's
now. I'm so sorry.
downstairs. I'm sorry if that's what's happening to you. But so yeah, we're here to find out if these movies should be remembered, and I feel like this movie is something you should maybe show your kid at least once, and they'll probably annoy the hell out of you with like talking about it all the time and acting like them, and then you'll just be like, I wish I'd never shown you that. But I still think it's pretty good, especially for boys. I mean, I'm not entirely sure what girls would get out of this. I'm pretty sure my wife's never seen the movie, but yeah, I think it's a pretty good movie to bring back up, which is why I would say it's worth putting in the vault, which is the thing we're gonna do.
Oh,
We're gonna do
all right.
now.
See, okay, agreed. I think it should go in the vault. It's a kid film that needs to last and last. Dude, this is hard to talk about this with Celine Dion going to my head. I wish you could hear this. This is insane. Maybe you can like.
It's like a little MIDI.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's insane. Where heart will go. Yes, I agree. In the vault, lock it, seal it.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So from this point on, we'll just kind of like we'll have a rating of is it in the vault or in the grave.
Ah, good point.
So we'll just like if it's worth remembering and bringing to your friends or to your millennial cohorts, then it goes in the vault. And if you want no one to know that you watched this movie again, just throw a little dirt on the grave. Yeah, throw a little dirt on the grave. So and then we should also talk just before we finish. This is a podcast called Lost Films of the '90s. However, a lot of stuff I remember from the '90s actually came out in the year 2000. So I'm sorry for anyone who is a purist or a perfectionist, but
A 90s Puritan.
there's gonna be some 2000 films, just from the year 2000, maybe 2001, reviewed on this podcast because 99 and 2000 just blend together for me, and honestly, that year, the summer of 2000, was really influential. Just like so many great comedies and action movies. So inevitably, those movies will come up. But that was Small Soldiers, and we're done. We did our first podcast.
Sweet, thanks, man. All right, that
Yeah.
was fun, man.
Alright, so signing off, this is Kenny,
This is Rick.
and we'll catch you next time.